Radhe,
Go ahead.
Here, everybody.
Radhe, Radhe, everyone. Have a wonderful and safe weekend. We'll see you Sunday morning. So now we will continue this journey continue on for the Bhagavad Gita session, Daily Wisdom, with Nitin Bhai and Pallavi ji, who is Sun God. So let's find out how hot this topic is going to get.
Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Sunil ji. Thank you, Ajay ji, for such a wonderful session. Over to you, Nitin ji. Radhe Radhe. And I can't wait to for this class. Very, very eager to for this session today.
All right. Thank you, Pallavi ji. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Ajay and Sunil bhai, for a wonderful session. Like, mind has a mind of its own, and I think it needs to be reminded from time to time to mind it. And one of the ways to remind that is to do the spiritual, pakka of contemplation of spiritual knowledge, and that's why we are here. So welcome everybody. Radhe Radhe. A very warm good morning, good evening. It's exciting time of the week. It's a weekend. The hope is that we feel equally as excited on a Monday as well. So let's get started. I will pull up my opening prayers and then we'll get into this topic. We will talk about why Lord Krishna is talking about that this knowledge was imparted to Sun God about 2 million years back. So it's not that Arjun is the recipient of this knowledge, is the first recipient. It is actually something that Lord Krishna is going to explain how he disseminated it to begin with, and then how through the cyclical process, disciplic process rather, it gets passed on from generations to generations. And also we'll do a quick recap on some of the key concepts that we discussed yesterday. So let's get started. I'll pull up my opening prayers and we shall get underway. All right. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening again, all of you. So let's get started. We are on chapter 4, verse 1. I'll recite it, and then if those of you feel confident, have practiced it, you are welcome to follow, and then we'll get deeper into the topic of our discussion today. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Roktavanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manurikshva Kave Bravi. All right, who gets the prize for early one today?
Today, Ashutosh ji gets the first.
Okay, all right, Ashutosh, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe, Ashutosh ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Ashutosh ji. Yeah, it's very nice if you can turn on your camera when you do that. Gives a personal touch. And it's a welcome change for me as well. I'm used to seeing a black screen with a few faces always. So very nice of you. Thank you, Ashutosh ji. Please go ahead.
Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam Vivaswan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvake Ve Bravit. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you very much. Very nice, Ashutosh ji. Radhe Radhe.
Uday ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, we can hear you.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Bravit. Radhe Radhe.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Udayji. Radhe Radhe.
Sumesh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go
Radhe
ahead.
Sumesh.
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji. Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe
Sri
Sumesh.
Bhagavanuvacha imam vivasvate yogam proktavanahamavyayam vivasvanamanave prahamanurikshvakave bravita.
Yeah, Sumesh,
Radhe
it was
Radhe.
good. Your meter got a little off because Vivas, Man, Manave, Praha were together. But very nice. Thank you very much. Let's take Radhe Radhe.
Rupa ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe, please unmute.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe Rupaji.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha imam vivasvate yogam proktavanahamavvyayam vivasvan manave praha manurikshvakave bravit.
Very nice, Rupaji. Thank you very much. See, the bad news is we couldn't see you. And the good news is we are seeing divine light, okay? So whatever is happening is good.
Sorry, no, it's the sunlight actually. Maybe now you can see me.
No worries, no
Oh,
worries.
sorry. That's the stand actually.
Okay.
Sorry,
I
I
thought,
couldn't.
all right. That is good.
that would have been really. I would have been blessed if that is a divine light. Definitely.
Okay, let's.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's move on to next participant.
Ragi ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivsvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avayam Vivaswan Manve Praha Manur Iksh Vake Bravit.
All right. Thank you very much. Are we good? Let's get started. Okay, we got a couple of more. So let's do really quick. I think Kamleshi has raised her hand, so we can cover her and we'll get started. I'll try to cover it. Yeah, please go ahead.
Please go ahead, Kamlesh ji. Radhe Radhe. We can't hear you, Kamlesh ji.
I'm trying.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yes,
can hear you now.
we
Please,
can hear you now. Yeah.
I'm trying to make it a little bigger.
It's okay, Kamleshi, you can do that. You can just recite it. We can hear you.
Shri Bhag Radhe Radhe
Radhe Radhe.
Ji Nitin ji. I will try. Shri Bhagavanu imam vivasvate yogam proktavanaham vayam vivasvan manve praha manuriksha vakave abravit.
Very nice, Kamleshi. Very nice. Keep trying. Thank you very much. So let's get started. So the short translation for the shloka goes like, the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna said, I taught this eternal science of yoga to the sun god, Vivaswan, who passed it on to Manu, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. So for humans, actually, this knowledge was revealed, although we'll go through that cycle in Treta. It started with Treta about 2 million years back, and we'll see how it disseminated and why Lord God's son became the lucky one to begin with. So let's do a quick recap. So knowledge, yesterday we were discussing that knowledge is the key thing in our life, right? We have the Gyanendriyas, and knowledge is the foundation or the basis of everything. Even if you look at humanity, it all started with the agriculture, right? Earlier people used to do farming. You need knowledge. You need knowledge of the soil. You need the knowledge of the weather. You need the knowledge, the science behind how cultivation happens. That is where knowledge plays a key role. And when humans, they moved over to industrial revolution, where the farmers just became a cog in the wheel, right, of the entire supply chain. That's where knowledge is needed as well. How do you optimize your processes? Day in and day out in our jobs, we are fine-tuning or improvising on our knowledge, right? Through our indriyas, we are absorbing things, we are observing people, we are learning, and we are trying to get better. So it is something that, and it is an occupational hazard of being a human being, that you have to acquire knowledge. It will come to you from all quarters. How do we channelize it, whether we are acquiring the right knowledge and all, that is a different topic of discussion, but knowledge is something which is in your face always. And then when you moved from industrial revolution to the information revolution, which, right, the IT boom that happened in Y2K era, it's even more important. Now a person can simply come, get his visa stamped, and he doesn't even have to carry any assets, right? That knowledge is there in the head, that idea is here, right? And how to take that idea further, that plan is there. Where is it? Here in the mind. You don't need to carry a suitcase or a lot of stuff to set up a company and all that stuff. So knowledge is here. And now if you look at it, even the social revolution that is taking place, there's a implosion or explosion of social revolution, that is also knowledge based. Now you would rather have a referral from your friend, or to go to Yelp to check, okay, which is a good restaurant. What are we trying to do here? Knowledge. We're trying to gain knowledge from somebody's experience, so that we don't make the same mistake that that person probably would have made, right? So we try to piggyback on somebody else's knowledge or gain knowledge, so that we can make more prudent, smart, and beneficial decisions, right? That is where knowledge is very, 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 very important. Even in material life, the whole endeavor of human life is to acquire right knowledge, so that they can make right decisions in life. And spiritual knowledge is, ironically, that is something which doesn't assume the paramount importance as one should have right on the top of the stack, right? It keeps on getting discarded because of various reasons. So knowledge is key, and it's only through knowledge we understand what is the purpose of human life and what we should be doing. And once we understand the purpose of human life, what are the different ways towards that end, right? There are different paths to that end. So that all comes from knowledge, and that is where knowledge is super important. And the next question, obviously, the source of knowledge has to be vetted as well. It needs to be bona fide as well, because if you start building your foundation on something erroneous, then your entire castle that you build will, it's just a matter of time before it falls like a house of cards, right? Or gets dismantled. So we spoke about this topic of knowledge, and then we spoke about the ascending and descending process, where ascending process is what science relies on. It has its limitations because it is dependent on the direct perception or inferential perceptions, and it will always be constrained by the material apparatus that we can create, right? The material things cannot capture something which is divine. The soul itself, our own identity is divine. So here we are trying to understand something which is divine in nature, and through material apparatus that is not going to happen. Plus, we said that material science and spiritual science both are bona fide branches of science. As scriptures say, DWFBG, both are bona fide. While the material science is aimed at making our life comfortable, understanding the laws of nature, the spiritual science helps us tackle the questions, taking that gyan and taking it to the next level, where you can actually tackle the questions posed by life to us, or the afflictions that trouble our mind. Spiritual science does not give us any remedy. It's like going to a doctor with some ailment, where there is no pill available for that, and that pill is available only in spirituality. Like Einstein also said that humans, they have harnessed the technology to break down a plutonium, but they still haven't gotten the technology how to remove evil from human heart, right? Nobody can teach us that other than the spiritual knowledge. We have to take refuge in spiritual knowledge, the bona fide spiritual knowledge, to be able to face life with confidence and take on the challenges that it is going to throw our way from time to time. Nobody's life is without challenges, and that is the design of this material world, so that we can create our better, stronger version and propelling ourselves closer towards the goal of our life. If you have a comfortable life, you have absolutely no incentive to improve. The people who get things dished out on a platter, they become lazy. And in fact, I think this guy, Michael Jordan, he was saying that the worst thing that he did was to share his wealth with all his near and dear ones. That is not so. He might have done it from a sense of duty or pity or compassion or whatever, but then those people, whatever potential they had, it became capped because they just got it so all too easy. So if humans, as humans, if our life is perfect, right? We spoke about this concept of the yardsticks that we apply to human life, that as of a certain age, I need to do this. I should be good in studies. I should get these grades, a good job, a good life partner, all that stuff. We do that and everything starts, falling in place like a piece of cake. We will stay where we are. We will not have any incentive whatsoever to work on ourselves. So this whole universe works on us as a sandpaper. Okay. So that is where those answers, when we come across those, how do we face them? First of all, with understanding, with confidence, and then how do we prepare our better versions during those adversities? That knowledge comes only from spirituality, and that is not an ascending process. To our great fortune, it is a descending knowledge where it comes top down from our scriptures. And those truths, they stand the test of time. It's not like a hypothesis which keeps on getting revised as it happens in the case of science. And that is the importance of descending process. If you have to learn physics, what do? You find a good physics professor, go to them, approach them, and then simply take the dump or start understanding the concepts from them. And spiritual science is even more profound. And if you really want to do that, we need to go to a spiritual master and approach them with reverence, with humility, and with the spirit of surrender. And then those principles will start making sense. They can be imparted to you through the grace of God and Guru itself. All right. So with that, now we also spoke about the three kind of pramans, the limitations of Pratyaksha and Anuman Praman, which is the basis of modern science, and Shruti Praman, which is the oral tradition, which is how all this scriptural knowledge flows down all the way from God to sun god, Manu, and so on and so forth. And Shruti Praman is the one which is most reliable as long as it is coming from a bona fide source and as long as it is coming through a bona fide guru. That these are the two conditions, and this is the most perfect source of knowledge that one can tap into as a human. Okay, now we are in chapter 4, verse 1 now. I'll give you a quick recap of what we will come across in this whole chapter. So verses 1 to 10, they talk about the position of Lord Krishna. What is the knowledge? The position of Lord Krishna in the grand scheme of things, who he is. Then verse 11 to 24 is going to talk about the application of that knowledge, converting Gyan to Vigyan, right? How do we apply this transcendental knowledge practically? Okay, this is how we are going to pace this chapter. The next one is the sacrifices. 25 to 34 is going to talk about sacrifices, how to gain this knowledge, and we have to follow certain processes around it, and that entails performing austerities and sacrifices, because no pain, no gain, and nothing is free in this world. Even in material world, like in US, there's a term, right? There are no free lunches. Same thing applies on spirituality as well. We need to gain eligibility by performing certain practices, and that is what will come in from verses 25 to 34. And then through 35 to 42, so you can remember it past, transcendental knowledge benefits. What are the benefits of this? What are the glories of this, and what is in it for me? We'll address that question. And why we should hear this knowledge, right? That question will come to your mind. What is in it for me? Why should I hear it? And what do I stand to gain? Or what do I stand to lose if I don't do that? All right, that was a quick. Now let's tackle the question, the particular shloka, what Lord Krishna is talking about here. Now, merely imparting any invaluable knowledge to anyone is not enough. You may have pearls of wisdom in your head that you are imparting, but that is not enough, because whenever there is a dialogue that happens between an orator and a listener, there are two dynamics to it, right? So what is needed is the recipient of that knowledge must be able to appreciate its value and have faith in its authenticity. Because if that appreciation is not there, right, and faith is not there, you will really not be able to get the import of that knowledge. It will remain superficial. It's just like scratching the surface without going deep. So these are the two important requirements for us to gain knowledge for anything. And you would have seen from your experience, even in material world, the same principles apply. If you keep on doubting your teacher, which doesn't happen usually, when it comes to material world, we are very good at surrendering our intellect. Whether we go to a doctor, whether we go to a lawyer, whether we go to a teacher, we are fully surrendered, mostly surrendered. But when it comes to spiritual knowledge, that's where we start having but, however, kintu, parantu in our heads. So these two things are very, the appreciation and the faith in its authenticity. We can do our groundwork to begin with, but the whole life cannot be an experiment. It's a wasted opportunity if we keep on experimenting and we are not able to develop that faith, which would help us progress and take the next step. And only when we put these two, and then obviously it has to be supplemented by effort. Because if we simply learn the recipe and not taste it, again, it's of no use. So if you spend your whole life learning how to cook, make a gulab jamun and never taste it, what's the point? The proof is in the pudding, and it's important to put it to practice as well. And in this particular verse, Lord Krishna is establishing the authenticity. He's telling where this knowledge is coming from. And Arjun, by the way, you're not the first person who's getting it. He does it periodically, as we will see. And the significance of this knowledge that he's bestowing upon Arjun. Now, he's saying that this knowledge is not something that it's newly created. These words of the song of God, like Bhagavad-Gita is called, it's not like it's just flowing out of Lord Krishna's mouth for the first time. And that too, just for the convenience of motivating him into battle. Okay, the objective of Bhagavad-Gita goes much deeper and it's much broader, as opposed to propelling Arjun to take action or to fight the war. It's much deeper than that. Okay? It's for a good reason Lord Krishna chose that battlefield to impart his message. He could have picked up any other situation. He could have, imparted that message to Pandavas when they were in, Vanvas. They were roaming around Agyatavas or otherwise. He had so many opportunities to impart that message. But he didn't do that. He used to meet them frequently, never did that. And only in the battlefield, he chose that occasion. But then it's not limited to motivating Arjun just to fight the battle. It goes much deeper, as we will see. Right? In this one, we said that, first of all, the eligibility has to be established, that the person is receptive to it, has the ability to appreciate it, and has faith. Once that is established, that's when you start imparting knowledge, it will make sense. And Lord Krishna knew Arjun is a perfect recipient for that. And he chose a perfect situation to basically tell us humans, if Arjun in that most adverse, stressful situation can implement this knowledge and still perform a task that requires a high level of sophistication, focus, and mental exertion, then the problems and challenges that we complain about as an excuse are nothing in front of it. Right? We have that question, how can we keep God in our mind and at the same time perform our duty? Arjun was doing precisely the same. And his duty was much more sophisticated, where he had to aim arrows and he was stacked up against people who were like not ordinary people. They were like Bhishma, Drona, and were kind of warriors that were there. And on top of it, he was going through that emotional turmoil that, hey, by the way, these are the same people whom I used to revere and have played in their lap when I was a kid. And the consequences so that entire situation is like any conceivable situation in our lives cannot match up to that if you really put yourself in Arjun's shoes. And his mouth got dry, he started trembling, and his skin was burning. That was Arjun, not even an ordinary person. So that is why God chose that. But then, like I say, I'm saying this message was not limited just to motivate him, but it goes much deeper, as we are seeing when we go through Bhagavad-Gita. Now let's look at the cycle. So this science, it is called eternal science of yoga. What is science? Science is in the sense that it is a science between humans and God, soul and super soul. It is not limited to a particular caste, creed, religion, or anything. It is a science between humans and God. Okay. So this was first, Lord Krishna is saying, it was imparted to Vivaswan. which is the name of our sun god. By the way, like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, there's not just one sun god. Okay, there are multiple suns in all the galaxies, millions and billions of suns. I'll get you the exact count, but he's telling in context of Arjun, the sun god that we see. His name is Vivaswan. So it was first imparted to Vivaswan, who then imparted it to Manu, who's known as the original progenitor of humankind. It came through Manu Rishi. And then further, Manu in turn taught it to Ikshvaku, the first king of the solar dynasty. Solar dynasty is the same dynasty where Lord Ram chose to take birth. Raghuvansh, he was Raghuvanshi, right? So Chandrama, the moon, was complaining that, you chose sun's dynasty and not mine. So he said, all right, next time I will choose yours. So that is why Lord Krishna came as Yaduvanshi. And then Ram Bhagwan also compensated moon by saying, okay, although I did not take birth in your dynasty, but I will put Chandra with my name. So his name is Ram Chandra. We call that, right? Ram Chandra Bhagwan. Anyways, bit of a trivia. Let's move on. So this knowledge, if you look at it, this is a descending process that we spoke about yesterday, where someone is a perfect authority, and that perfect authority, if you look at it, the chain, whichever sampradaya you go with, the final buck stops at God. He's the original Jagat Guru. That is a prayer we do every day, right? Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. He is the first and the foremost Jagat Guru. And through him, that chain, from master to disciple to, that is how it continued. And this is the process through which descending knowledge comes through Shruti Praman. Now, obviously the question is now, who is sun god, and why was sun god chosen by God as his first disciple? So let's tackle that a little bit. So if we look at Brahma Samhita, we've already spoken about sun god is known as Vivaswan, and the sun god is also known as the king of all the planets in the solar system. He's the king. So if you were to pick somebody in a kingdom to impart something, who exerts the most influence, who would it be? You would pick up the king. And in the solar system in which we reside, Earth being one of those planets and the king being sun god was bestowed with this knowledge to begin with. In Brahma Samhita, it's very clearly laid out. Again, I'm not going to attempt to read it, but what it says is, Brahmaji is saying, let me worship. Brahmaji is saying that supreme personality of Godhead, Govind. Govind is another name for Krishna, who's the original person, and under whose order the sun, which is the king of all the planets, is assuming immense power and heat. And also the sun represents the eye of the Lord, just an eye of the Lord, and traverses its orbit in obedience of his order. So sun and moon, they follow the order of their CEO and clock on time. They are always punctual. So sun, it represents the eye of the Lord. And in fact, God, it is said that his effulgence, the effulgence emanating from God's body. This is a concept, deeper concept, where people think that God is only Nirgun, light. So God is both Nirgun and Sagun. So the effulgence emanating from his body, in fact, the effulgence emanating from the tip of his toe, that itself is called Brahma Jyoti. That is so, it seems like it is so effulgent that people think that is what God is. So the people who talk about getting Brahmaleen or who worship light actually are situated in that light only. They are not able to go beyond that. That is how powerful God's light itself is. It's just like that shimmering train you see from a distance. From distance, it looks like a light, but when it comes closer, you know it in full glory. So anyways, I took a little bit of a digression, but yeah, sun in this case is the eye of the Lord, and it basically does its job under the direction of God. And since it is the king of all the planets, that is why it was chosen as the first disciple by Lord Krishna. Furthermore, there is another, I'll pick up another verse from our scripture to illustrate that. Now, just to continue on what we spoke about, the sun is the king of the planets, and name is Vivaswan, we know that, and it's controlling all the planets, and it provides the heat and light, and it is the very basis of life. If there is no sun, there is no life. Anything that we eat, it comes from grains. Where do grains come from? They come from plant. How do plant make their food? Through the process of photosynthesis. What is one of the critical ingredients in photosynthesis? Sunlight. So without sun, nothing is possible. Sun is life actually, and that is why during Makar Sankranti we pay our obeisance to sun for what it gives to us. For us, it's a regular process. Every day sun comes and it sets, right? But it actually supporting life in a lot of ways, not just heat but light. So our food and everything is sustained by sun only. And sun was chosen as the first disciple by Lord Krishna because of the fact that it is the king and he rules all the planets. And Gita is not a speculative treatise, as you would see with a lot of other books. And it's not written by any mundane scholar. Like you may read a lot of books here written by scholarly people, but this is not a creation of some scholar, but it is coming directly from God. And it has been existing since time immemorial. Like I said, if God would create this creation without the manual, it would be a very unfair game. It's like you have created a product, but you haven't told me how to use it, right? Product being us, Jivatmas. So this message always remain, and God has his ways of re-establishing it whenever the chain is broken, or the message gets diluted, or the message gets corrupted. He keeps on re-establishing it. And then whenever the creation comes about, he starts off with sun god. Now in Mahabharat Shanti Parv as well, there is a history of Bhagavad-Gita. In that it is mentioned, if you look at it, it's mentioned that in the beginning of the millennium, so the reference is given for Treta Yuga. Treta Yuga, that's when Lord Ram came, and that's when this science was imparted to Vivaswan. Vivaswan actually imparted it to Manu. So Vivaswan was already told by Lord Krishna, but from our frame of reference, that's when Manu got it. And Manu is known as the father of mankind, and then he passed it on to Maharaj Ikshwaku, and then the forefather was the Raghu dynasty where Lord Rama had descended, and Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaja Ikshwaku. And there also there is a reference of this relationship that we are talking about. Now moving on, if we look at the history of time, right, Satyug 1.7 million years ago, Treta Yuga was about 1.2 million, Dwapar and Kali Yuga, all these are the things, and then it's the highest unit of time known to humankind. We have spoken about, yes, Pallavi?
Sorry to interrupt you, Nitinji. Actually, there are some requests coming up as people are not able to hear you. There's some disturbance in the audio.
All right, give me a sec. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed it out. Are you able to hear me now? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, it's better.
Is it just better or much better, or how much better it is?
Better. Shalini ji has mentioned that now it is better for her. Okay.
Is it clear? Audio is clear or not?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes, it's good now.
Okay. So basically, this is the Chaturang cycle that we have, starting with Satyug, and then comes the Treta Yuga, Dwapar and Kali Yuga. If you look at it, each yuga is, the double, like from Kali Yuga, you start from 4 point and then it doubles up in Dwapar, and then you double it up, multiply it by 2. That's how Treta Bhavan becomes, and then you make it 3 times, it becomes 1.7. That becomes 1 Mahayuga, which is 4.3 million years. And if you multiply it by 1000, that becomes 1 day of Brahma, and that is Kalp, which is the highest unit of time known to humans. So this process is cyclical. It keeps on repeating. So after Kali Yuga, again, Satyug will come, Treta will come, the cycle keeps on repeating. There is a concept of Pralay, Nitya Pralay, we'll not get into that, but point here being because the reference of Treta was brought in, that is when this knowledge was imparted by sun god to Manu. And that is the reference point for us. So let's look at some numbers here, just to put it in perspective. So about 2 million years ago, Manu spoke to Bhagavad-Gita to his disciple and son Maharaja Ikshvaku, the king of this planet. And the age of current Manu is calculated to be around, as you can see, 305 million years, which is about, and out of which about 120 million years have passed. Okay, these are some mind-boggling numbers. And birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by Lord to his disciple, that like Lord Krishna saying in this verse to sun god, and that roughly that estimate is about 120 million years ago. And in human society, it has been existing for 2 million years, which is starting with Manu. And it was respoken again to Arjun about 5,000 years ago, as we know it through Mahabharata. Okay, so these are some numbers just to put things in perspective. And then this is not the age of the creation itself. Okay, this is just the cycle that we have in. We are in 7th Manvantara, so we'll get into those calculations maybe another session. But this is just from the frame of reference of our time, our Manvantara. It's a cyclical process. It keeps on happening, and dissolution happens, and then again it unfolds, and then again this cycle has been continuing forever. We are not. It's not the first Kali Yuga. Okay, we are in the 7th Manvantara, so we can actually calculate which Kali Yuga we are part of. And our Brahmaji is 51-year-old, by the way. His age is also 100 years. So 51 years old, with the calculation that one day of Brahmaji, as you can see, is just a lot of time, right? 4.3 billion, 32 billion years ago, it makes one day of Brahma. And Brahma goes on to live for 100 years, and he's in 51st year. So you can wish him Golden Jubilee, okay? He just celebrated that. So both Brahmaji and his wife, you can wish that. Okay. Now let's get into our discussion topic today. What differentiates Bhagavad-Gita? Now we are reading a book. We read so many books. We read self-help books. What differentiates it from regular self-help books? And I would like to hear from participants based on their experience, understanding, and whatever we have discussed today. Would like to hear your perspectives on that. What differentiates it? And tomorrow we'll pick up the Mahatmya, not just for 4th chapter as well. Mahatmya means the Mahima, or the importance of everything. But let's get this going, just to get the thought process going around this topic. So I'll open it up now. Yes, Pallavi, do we have?
Yeah, I see a couple of hand raised.
Sure, please call
yeah,
them.
Ramya ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Radhe, am I audible today?
Yes, very much.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to say that the ordinary self-help books, they are easy to read and I understand, irrespective of I implement it or not. But Bhagavad-Gita is not easy to understand at all. You cannot study Bhagavad-Gita on your own, even if you have a book, not possible. You must be in a group like this, or should be getting it from someone who has really known it. And I understand now the difficulty of implementing also. It's not like very easy to implement. Like Krishna says, anger is a gateway to hell, not so easy. But once we internalize it completely, then our life will change for sure. But I feel that the other self-help books, I can easily pick up a book, but not Bhagavad-Gita. Like even if I read it 3 times or 4 times, still I feel that it is like very like kept in a secretive, although it is there open. That's what I feel.
Great points, Ramya ji. In fact, we'll talk about the Mahatmya tomorrow, and we discuss that. Bhagavad-Gita, the power of Bhagavad-Gita is that even if you simply listen to it, okay, whether it's making sense to you or not, you are actually listening to it with faith. Lord Krishna calls it as a sacrifice of intellect. And as we will see through the course of this chapter, anything that sacrifice purifies. And this is the one of the topmost sacrifices you can do. So if you are just listening to it, or you are practicing shloka, and you're approaching something with faith, that itself can have a transformative effect on you. That is how powerful it is, which will not happen. And let's continue the discussion. I want to hear from participants before I can build more on top of it. Now, why it is so important and what is the power Bhagavad Gita and the shlokas have, even if you are simply listening it and participating in this Gyan Yagya. Yes, let's hear from other participants.
Yeah, thank you, Ramya ji. Manoranjan ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, Manoranjan ji.
Yes, go ahead, please.
We cannot hear you. You may have to fix your audio.
Somehow he is not able to unmute.
Okay, I'm able to
Okay,
unmute.
now I think so.
We unmuted you. Radhe Radhe. Your audio is not clear, Manoranjan. You may want to fix that first. Let's move on to the next participant.
Yes, Suniti, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Sunitji.
Yes, Radhe Radhe, Nitinji and all members. Actually, whenever I read self-help books, I always ask myself, from where these people are getting so much knowledge. Now I understand that they must have read Bhagavad-Gita because this is the manual of our life. That question always keep in my mind. Now I have got the answer. Radhe Radhe.
No, great point, Sunitji. In fact, if somebody has understood Bhagavad-Gita even partially, or maybe somebody has even scratched the surface, they can go and write tons of books. That is how powerful Bhagavad-Gita is. Stephen Covey, that guy who's written 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he's also inspired by Bhagavad-Gita. So if you read that book, you can actually directly map to some of the Bhagavad-Gita principles, but then you will be able to appreciate that what he teaches, what he's telling in his principles is just the tip of the iceberg that Bhagavad-Gita has to offer. And I can tell you from my personal experience, when I was doing my management, I was fortunate enough to get exposed to Bhagavad-Gita at that time, and where I would go through my curriculum, where they would teach leadership principles and what is a good leader and all those concepts around leadership and level 4, level 5 leaders. And when I would compare it with against what I'm reading in Bhagavad-Gita, I would say, what they are saying or telling is barely scratching the surface. And where they stop, where they can say, they come and they reach a point or a conclusion that there are certain people like level 5 leaders like Nelson Mandela and people like Mahatma Gandhi who could mobilize so many people. We can't explain why they became how they became. And that is where they would stop. That is the entry point to Bhagavad Gita. So the peak of what somebody can teach you from a material science standpoint is barely scratching the surface of what this wonderful scripture has to offer. It's like an ocean, and the bigger our vessel is, the more we can draw out of it. So even if you read it 1,000 times, you'll always get something new out of it. That is how profound it is. Yes, let's hear from other participants as well. Pallavi ji, you may want to call somebody. Yes, Shikha ji, please go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute talking. Sanjay ji, please go ahead.
Yes, Sanjay ji,
please unmute yourself. Yeah.
They cover only 1 or 2 aspects of particular thing regarding self-help, but Bhagavad Gita covers a whole lot of things, and it is holistic in that way. So, like I think Nitinji rightly said, it's just kind of scratch of surface we can get out of regular self-help book. This is what
wonderful.
I want.
Beautiful point, Sanjay ji. And also these material books, they are capped with the the intellectual understanding of the author. And Bhagavad Gita is like, you can only imagine, the words that have come out from God's mouth, how deep they can be. So author, when they write it, now, unless of course is Vedas, they can never match up to it, no matter what you write, no matter how big of a scholar you are. It can never match that. And they will not have, that knowledge would remain jad, unless of course you're referring to the scriptures or Bhagavad Gita itself. That's your knowledge is called jad. Jad means it's a dead knowledge. You can contemplate upon it, and it will, if you start practicing it will take you to a certain level. Bhagavad Gita is called sentient knowledge, where it's divine and sentient, and just your interaction with the shlokas, whether it's in a form of recitation or listening or trying to understand or participate, that itself is so powerful, it will have a transformative effect on you. Mahatma Gandhi used to say, whenever I would used to be in the great moment of despair or lose hope in life, I'd just turn over a page of Bhagavad Gita and draw a great solace from it. You can try that. If you are in a spot in life and you have faith in Bhagavad Gita, you open the book, you will come across a shloka that you think is the message Krishna talking to you directly. So it's a conversation with Krishna directly. And it can happen when you start putting faith in Bhagavad Gita. A lot of magical things happen. You know, you will start getting that message directly from Krishna at times if you start turning the leaves over. That is how powerful it is. Beautiful point, Sanjay. Thank you so much. Let's hear from other participants as well.
Nitinji, Ashutosh ji has mentioned in the chat that for me, Gita is directly coming from the God. So it is flawless.
It has to be, I mean, we can't even comment on it. It has to be flawless because it's all God's creation. And when he creates a manual, it has to be perfect. Great point. Please keep, you can post the feedback tracker as well. You can keep filling it as well while we continue with our discussion.
Yes, I have just now posted the feedback tracker. Please feel free, go ahead while we are discussing. There are a lot of chats coming in. Time permitting, I'll go ahead and keep reading as and when I get chance. Yeah.
And please fill it out in the comment section of the feedback tracker as well. That way, in case we are not able to cover it in chat, at least I get an opportunity to read through it. Or if you're asking a question, respond back to you. Yes.
Sumesh, yeah, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead. Thank you.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji.
Radhe Radhe.
My English is weak.
No worries.
If someone will have gone mistake, then please you
No
will
problem.
forgive me.
No problem. You please go ahead and express yourself. And even if you can, you want to speak in Hindi, that is fine too. I can translate it for audience.
No, I will try in English.
Sure.
Son is the one out of Panchdev. Sun is us like us, Mother Durga, Shankar, Vishnu, Ganesh ji. In the Bihar, in November, very famous festival Chhat Puja.
Chhat Puja, I know. Yeah.
So many people celebrate near the river.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes, very true.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much, Michi. Yeah, I know the Thekua, right? That is what is made. Thekua. Yeah, Thekua. I used to love that. I've studied in Bihar, so I know that Thekua, and that's a festival. And we have a lot of festivals like Makar Sankranti, Pongal, Lohri, where we offer our respect to Sun God. But now you know why it's so important, Sun God, and he was the one God chose to impart this knowledge to begin with. Thank you, Someshi. Let's hear from other participants.
Yes, Shikha ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Shikha ji.
Radhe Radhe ji, thank you. Well, I would like to say that I have been reading self-help books since 2010, but I think it's been a year that I started reading Bhagavad Gita. So as it's coming directly from the God, like, you know, like why we are into spirituality or why we really curious about life, that what happens like after death and what is cause and effect relationship. So when we are into this journey, of course we want like, you know, whatever we are reading, that should come from authenticity. Like, you know, everything should be authentic. That's why we can believe. Otherwise we have so many doubts. So you know, since the time I started reading Bhagavad Gita, so whenever I do something, like, you know, whether good, bad, so I always go back to what our sessions, like whatever we have studied. And then as per that, I take decision. And after that, I don't contemplate or I don't, like, you know, go into doubt situation. I just take that decision and give my best to it. But earlier, when, you know, it's been almost like 11 years that I have been reading so many books, like, you know, every renowned author book, I have read that. So you know, earlier I used to feel that they all are people like us, like, you know, maybe extraordinary, ordinary, or whatever. They are like us, whatever they have, like, you know, limited knowledge, like as per their experiences. But when it is coming from the divine, when it is coming from something for which you worship, and you pray that, you know, that the person should intervene in your life so that you would take correct actions in your life. So I think then it makes a lot of difference in your life.
Very true.
That is
Very,
what I would like to share.
very, very true. So see, the self-help books would still keep you riddled with doubts in your mind. When it comes from scriptures, from proper source, then it's like 100% confident. You will be so confident facing things in life. Those principles are like, it takes faith, and once you have experienced it, it's like you can approach things in life with confidence without any doubt whatsoever. In any situation, you would know this is the way to go. Great point. And that confidence will not come from the regular self-help books, and they will not have that transformative effect. They may help you in few ways, because good principles are good principles, but then that power that Bhagavad Gita exerts, I mean, nothing can match up to it for sure. Yes, let's hear from other participants as well.
Yes.
Quite a few
Lakshmi
hands. So.
Prasanna ji has mentioned, one year back I bought Bhagavad Gita book, started reading but could not make it. By the God's grace, I'm on this platform, understanding it. Now, thank you all, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Lakshmiji. And I think it's a wonderful satsang. It's called a satsang, 1 hour satsang that we do, and it will have its effect. And we are extremely fortunate that, Swamiji has made it so palatable, easy for us, and with so beautiful analogies that he presents, that we are able to discuss it. And otherwise, these concepts are normally not accessible to regular people. It's like they don't make sense. It's like they seem vague, and we think they have no relevance to practical life. But we are extremely fortunate. We are able to read it, understand it, discuss it on a daily basis, and we should really thank God and Guru for that.
Definitely.
Great point.
Yes. Thank you for waiting. Champaji, please go ahead. Champaji, Radhe
Radhe
Radhe.
Champaji.
Radhe Radhe. Great class, Nitinji. Enjoying it and learning a lot. What I would like to say is the difference between Bhagavad Gita and the regular self-help books. See, in Kali Yuga, our lifespan is short.
Yep.
And our intelligence and memory is also less. And we have such a vast scriptures, Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, and so many other scriptures. It is in Kali Yuga, it is not possible for us to read all of them. So Lord Krishna himself gave the essence of all the Vedas and Upanishads and Aranyakas and Puranas in 700 verses. If we really want and attempt reading 700 verses and try to understand, and especially if you are attending Nitinji's class, is not a great task. But if we have to read all the other scriptures, then it is humanly impossible. That is the difference between Bhagavad Gita and all other books. Radhe Radhe, thank you.
Wonderful. I think you summed it really well, Champaji, and it's so good to hear you after a long time. I know you attend, but it's always good to hear your voice. That's very true. It's like, if you think deeply about it, actually, it should give you goosebumps that out of 7 billion people, how many actually get to read Bhagavad Gita? And we are one of those fortunate people, and not just reading, but actually understanding, discussing, and trying to implement it in our lives as well, right? And trying to go really deep into it. So it is like hitting a jackpot in life. It's a big, huge blessing, I would say. And you would realize, if you start reflecting, or in hindsight, when you started off, and as we continue to progress, you will start seeing changes in your life. That is the power of Bhagavad Gita, and your experience will tell you that. Beautiful point. Thank you, Champaji, and always good to hear you.
Thank you, Champaji. There is one question, Nitinji, in the chat. People from other religions say same thing about Bible, Quran, or Torah. Is their faith somehow tainted?
No. I think it's a great question. I've dabbled with this question in the past as well. So see, it's like based on the trajectory of your spiritual life, because it's not our first life, nor is it our last one. So based on the message that you are ready for or what you need, God arranges for that. Which religion, which country, what circumstances you will born in. So the message keeps on, like we have different classes in this world as well. Similarly, in spirituality also, there are different classes. When you pass that class, you move on to the next level. So it is said, again, you have to understand it from that perspective. It is said, where the message of Quran ends, Bible begins. Bible ends at, Quran ends at, okay, don't do this, don't do that, because you need to refrain from performing sins. Bible begins, it ends at be good. Okay, that's where the message ends, be good. Where Bible ends, Bhagavad Gita begins. Bhagavad Gita ends at being good is not good enough. You need to go beyond that, because goodness is also binding. And where Bhagavad Gita ends, Bhagavatam begins. Bhagavatam says, forget about, and Bhagavad Gita ends at moksha. And Bhagavatam says, leave aside karam, arth, kam, and moksha. Let's enter to the depths of devotion or bhakti. So based on the readiness of a student and the past sanskars and the spiritual merit they have acquired, it is arranged for whichever religion they get born in. So in every religion, if you look at it, the common denominator is develop love for God. The Bible also says, love God with all thy heart and all thy might. So if you follow that message, you can achieve God even in any religion for that matter. If you look at some of the teachings of Sufi saints, they also talk about ishq with God. So the message is common, but then theoretically or philosophically, the message that you can truly digest, God only has that algorithm. He'll arrange for it where you are born. So the message keeps on changing. And if you look at a lot of people, born as Jews and Christians, when they're ready for that message, their journey ends at Sanatan Dharam. Being a Hindu, we cannot claim proprietorship for it, but then the fact is Vedas is the topmost knowledge. When you're ready for it, you will resonate with it. If you're not ready for it, you'll resonate with something else, which is also fine because we are still making progress. So this is how it goes.
Very well explained. Thank you, Nitinji.
Yeah.
I'll move on to other participants. Thank you for waiting. Suresh ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Suresh ji.
Yeah.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji. I joined once in a while, but every time I join, I really learn a lot. And to your question, the self-help books are good at times, and often we get some specific help if we are trying to solve some problem and create some motivation. And that is very temporary. But Bhagavad-Gita, the Song of God, Krishna has given us principles to not only deal with daily life, but at the same time, from what I have understood, is that our end goal is to not come back to Earth in that 83 million or 84 million that we have. So Krishna has given us treasures of wisdom in Bhagavad-Gita to not only lead our life in a very effective way on Mother Nature, Earth, at the same time, get a permanent inspiration and motivation for getting out of the chakra, or the realms of coming back and going again and coming back.
Very true.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Very nice. Great to hear from you, Suresh ji. Very true. So I think if I were to summarize what you said, self-help books are good, but not good enough. So yeah, great points. Very nice. Yes, it doesn't address the bigger questions of life, how to have a foolproof plan not to come back to this Kal Chakra at all, right? Great point. See a few other hands. Pallavi ji.
Yes. Thank you, Nitinji. Padma ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Padma
Thank
ji.
you for waiting, Padma ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
So, we all at different ages, different genders, different races, color, right? We all have specific reasons of why we pick up a book, like self-help book, right? We have a specific question. So we're looking for that one specific thing, whether it's nationally or gender-wise, right? You're looking for one specific question, one specific solution. But when you look at Bhagavad Gita, even though it was all summarized in like 700 verses, right? Even if you take one single verse, a single verse, and you contemplate on the same verse that you like out of the 700, and every week or every month, you just contemplate on one single verse, it really gives you the solutions for everything that you're going to do. And I feel the reason why you find solutions for everything is because
when you're picking up a self-help book, it gives you a specific solution, but you still feel the burden of it, right? You got a solution for one question, but you still not, you still feel burdened. But when you do this practice of just one verse, I think it takes off the burden, because you're not only doing just that solution for that external problem, but internally you're purifying your mind, body, and soul, which eventually purifies you as a whole package. And you're able to use this one gem, one verse, and that you like, and then you're just contemplating on the same thing. And next time that you contemplate on the same words that you like, you will find the solutions for many of the different problems in your life. So it is giving you one gem for everything that you go through, because mind is being purified, your body, mind, and soul, overall, it just purifies in so many different ways, and gives you solutions in so many different ways that you never thought that you can actually come up with your solutions from within, right? That is what it gives you, that you find the solutions from within yourself, which you already have within
Wonderful.
yourself.
Wonderful. Loved it, Padmaji. Two things you brought in, and I can vouch for that. One is, even if you pick one shloka and you can base your life or center your life around that, that itself is good enough to make a grand success of our lives. That is how much power Bhagavad Gita has. And second thing that you said, from within, it starts happening. So the knowledge is directly proportional to the purity of our heart. So the more cleansed our heart is, that knowledge will start getting revealed. Because if you look at the soul, it already is situated in knowledge, bliss, and peace, right? It's because of the layers that we have introduced on top of it, because of which we go further and further away from it. So the more you start getting in touch with your reality, the knowledge will start getting revealed from within. You don't even need to seek answers. All those knots will start getting unraveled, as we go along. Great point, Padmaji. Loved it. Yes.
Yeah, great point, Padmaji. Seema ji has also mentioned, my love is sloka number sloka 2.47.
2.4. See, I can tell that it's my favorite shloka for a lot of people. I mean, I started off with that as well. It's a beautiful shloka. 80% of our life is with work, relationships, handling people. 2.47, if we simply put it on our wall, understand all the 4 principles, maybe we'll do a revision on Karam Yoga again. That's it. Nothing else is needed at that point. You are actually practicing surrender. You are practicing devotion. You are practicing not getting attached to the results. You are practicing, focusing on the process, not thinking about the results. Everything is covered in that, actually, if you think about it. It's a beautiful shloka.
Yeah.
Thank you, Simi, for calling that out. Yes, a couple of other hands.
I can say thank you, Manoranjan ji, for waiting. Please go ahead. I'm again trying to unmute you.
You may want to make the quick announcements, Pallavi ji, before that. Okay, after that.
Radhe Radhe, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are very audible.
Yeah. Actually, at that time I was unable to unmute, so I was able to enter. Thank you for the opportunity first. And this is a wonderful session. You people are doing great. Thank you, Nitin ji, Pallavi ji. Wonderful work. I have some points to say, and then I have a question. The first point is that about the sun god. In the stanza we discussed about the sun god. So actually the sun is known as the Sakal Shakti ki Aadhar. The entire universe, the entire humankind, the entire race, whatever we see is descended from the sun. Is descended from the Bhagavan, and from means by the help of the Bhaya media of the sun. So if you see in the eastern part of India, that is in Odisha, there is a Arka Khetra known as Konarka. So that temple itself is, the temple itself is, this is the only sun temple in the whole world. You will find no sun temple anywhere in the world. This is the only sun temple, and to your knowledge, to your information, I will tell that this temple is actually not functioning, because the deity has been destroyed, and the whatever you see there is only the sanctum of the temple. It is not the original temple. The original temple is destroyed. Why it is destroyed? Because the sun is so powerful. The energy of sun is so powerful. You cannot actually practically establish a temple for him. He is so energetic. Therefore, the deity, whatever it was established, it was subsequently destroyed. It is a beautiful concept. I invite all of you to come to that place to feel the energy of the sun. Specifically in the Makara Sankranti, if you come, literally you can see that how the sun descends by his chariots. You will see horses in the sky. Literally, you can see the horses in the sky. Yeah, absolutely. So
Wonderful.
you come in the day of Makara Sankranti, you all will experience this in the early hours. That means 4:30 to 5 p.m. AM in the morning. You will all experience all these things. So kindly come. I invite all of you to come to this place. This is the thing. Second thing is that you said
Manoranjan ji, come to which place? Konark Temple or to your place? If it's your place, you have to give us your address. Okay, okay.
Yeah, actually I am from Bhubaneswar. Bhubaneswar Konark Temple is 50 kilometers away from Bhubaneswar, near Puri.
Sure, sure.
Right. So
all right,
I
you can.
invite all of you to come to Puri.
I was just kidding. You can go ahead with your question, yeah, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm saying is that you said that the sun god imparted, the Lord imparted the knowledge to sun god, and sun god imparted the knowledge to Vivasvan, and Vivasvan imparted to Manu.
No. Sun god is Vivaswan. Vivaswan imparted it to Manu, and Manu imparted it to Ikshvaku. So Vivaswan and sun god are same. It's the name of the sun god only.
No, actually, I will like to make a correction here. Sun god is not Vivasvan. Actually, see, this Vivasvan Manu means actually the Manu which we are referring in Bhagavad Gita is Vivasvan Manu. If you go to Srimad Bhagavatam, there are different kind of Manus, right?
Yeah.
So there are
he may be
there are Vivasvan Manu. Right.
Yeah, he may be prefixed. We can discuss that offline. He may be prefixed with Vivaswan, the one we have, but the god's name is also Vivaswan.
It is known as Vivasvat Manvantare. If you see, it is known as Vivasvat Manvantare. So this is the Manu. This Manu is known as Vivasvan Manu.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Thank you.
Sure. You had a question as well? Okay, maybe not. Okay, thank you, Manoranjan ji. I can send you some text. We can for an off. Yeah. So thank you very much for your inputs. All right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And by the way, Konark Temple, I wanted to add another. I've been to that temple because I've studied in East. If you put your finger, the shadow will tell you the time of the day. So it's an engineering marvel. Just by putting finger, the shadow, the way the sun is structured, it will tell you the time of the day. So
putting the finger where, Nitin?
In the chariot, I think there's a wheel there, and you put that, and the shadow would tell you what time of the day it is. I've been to that temple. Yeah, I've visited that temple. Yeah.
When we are talking about the sun temple, Nitinji, there is a beautiful sun temple in Ranchi Jamshedpur highway. I do not remember exact the place.
Okay.
But that is in Jharkhand, and that is also beautiful, beautiful temple.
I missed it because I never went there, but I have studied in Jamshedpur, so that's good to know. All right.
I'll take a quick moment for some announcements.
Yes, and then we can have a real quick, the remaining two participants that we have. Yeah, you can make the announcements in the meantime.
Yes, thanks.
And please do fill out the feedback tracker if you have any questions, comments, and even otherwise.
So a couple of features events, we have been announcing it throughout the week. And again, I'll reiterate some of them. First is Sanskriti, which is on 11th Feb. This is extravaganza for the cultural extravaganza by J.K. Yog Bal Mukundas and Youth Club. This is a great opportunity for kids to perform, participate in all the cultural events and the contests. Do encourage them. The next is the Holy Fest, which is going to be there. It is going to be on 19th March. So it is kind of way ahead, but we'll keep informing you all and sharing links about it. The next is Saint Tyagaraja Aradhana. That is on 19th Feb. And this is also online event, and it is also in Radha Krishna Temple. Please take advantage of all these wonderful, wonderful events and attend them. That's it. Those are the featured events, and we'll keep sharing all the more information about it.
Yeah, Sanskriti, if you're on around Dallas area, it's a wonderful platform for kids and youth to participate and bring their talents to the fore. And Holi, it's one of the grand mega events we have every year. So, and this time I think got some celebrities coming in here as well. So we cater to everyone here based on your taste. Holi is going to be a fun event here as well. Let's hear from Annapurna ji and Swati ji real quick, and then.
Yes, Annapurna ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
See you all tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I just want to take the screenshot of, can you run through them? Some important information, even small thing I want to learn, some new thing. If you run through, I can take the picture of it. It was in a yellow color, all of them,
So what I will do is, Annapurna, you have access to the portal. I upload stuff. So
okay. Maybe I can go through the portal, right?
Yeah, you can go to the portal.
I will find in that portal all the.
Or I will bring out the video for this session. I'll try to pull out the videos at least after a week for all the sessions, and then you can take your own time to capture screenshots and.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
try to pull out the video for this session as well and start posting periodically the videos as well for the benefit of people who are for some reason not able to attend. But I would strongly encourage you to make your in person. Don't leave it to video, otherwise I'll be really bored, okay, if I'm all alone and only have Shyamji to talk to, okay, so, and Pallaviji for company. So please keep attending the sessions and
we will be there. We will never miss it for anything.
Because live interactive sessions are much more fun than.
I know. I think it is more fun. It is more fun to see each other. We feel like we are in contact. Satsang.
Yes. And it's a satsang for sure. It's like a Gyan.
Yes. And then it's so nice to listen everybody's, experiences and, their ideas and, so much to learn from each other.
Okay, so because of your promise, I'm going to start putting videos and hope that everybody will continue attending.
That sounds even more exciting.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No worries. My pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you, Swati ji, for waiting. Finally.
Yes, Swati ji, please go ahead. Thank you for
being patient.
Ahead.
Thank you for being patient.
Radhe, am I audible?
Yes, you're quite audible.
Yeah. Just I wanted to say one thing. Since 1 year, I am reading that Bhagavad-Gita, which is a small pocket Bhagavad-Gita. I am carrying that, and I was reading that, but I couldn't understand anything. Basically, I read it for 1 year full, and I thinking that what is written in this, I'm not able to understand it. Though I am reading daily, I was reading one chapter, but I couldn't understand that 4 to 5 pages. One chapter was there in that pocket Bhagavad-Gita.
Yeah.
So I started this Bhagavad-Gita. You had taken some 10 friends, I think, session. That session, first time I just watched that. And from that, I have started following you. And I am able to understand now what Bhagavad-Gita is telling and what they want to tell. And practically then I'm applying also for myself. So I'm very thankful to you and God and Swamiji for getting a lot of things to learn from you all. That reading was not helping me. Even I tried to read the Vedas. I thought one day I search Vedas. I couldn't understand. I couldn't read only. So I thought it's not our cup of tea. So I left that. But Bhagavad-Gita, now I am chapter wise and session wise. I'm understanding lot of things from this.
Yeah. Wonderful. Swati ji, where are you joining us from?
I'm from Mumbai.
No, you are at the right place and in good company. That's what I can tell you. But yeah, it's not very unusual for people to try Bhagavad-Gita and not making sense. In fact, when I tried it for the first time, I could not go past the first 25 pages. And I said, this is not for me. Okay, so Swamiji, like I said, he has made it so easy. And if you continue doing that, these concepts will start clicking just like that. And in our sessions, basically, we go pick up one shloka for a particular reason that we really don't want to skim through anything. Covering that Bhagavad Gita quickly in 1 year is not a big deal, but we want to take our own sweet time, go really deep into every shloka if required, multiple sessions for the same shloka, and possible cross references as we can get, so that that concept really sticks. It just becomes solid in our head. So that is the idea, and I look forward to having you in our sessions. Please get your friends and other people here as well, and I would encourage all of you to share it with your friends, family, so that they can benefit from it as well. And and we are going at a pace where it's never too late. Okay.
Thank you for the JKU, because since 2 weeks I am attending this and I'm gaining a lot of confidence, knowledge, and like we can say what I'm understanding now. It's really helping me in the life also.
And do meet Swamiji if you get a chance next time when he comes to Bombay.
I met Swamiji.
Oh,
he was there in the Mumbai session. He came in Andheri, First time I met him. I was watching his videos since 1 year, since lockdown. And I was like, when I came to know that he is visiting there, so I went in one satsang. One day I attended him. I even got his this Guru Charan also, like a namaskar I did, and I was like very thankful to Swamiji also.
It's only because of Shri Maharaj Ji, and Swamiji that we are able to, discuss this and have this kind of an understanding. So all thanks go to them only. And it's wonderful to have you, and it's very heartening to know that these sessions are benefiting you, and now Bhagavad-Gita is no longer that thing. Okay, we can't make it understand it. It's not going to be like that anymore. Thank you, Swati ji.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Swati ji, and Asha ji. She has also mentioned in the chat that she has the same experience, and she's thanking for the night session as always. Nitin ji.
Thank you, Asha ji.
Seema ji, please go ahead.
Yes, Seema ji, you'll have the last word for the day with 2.47.
Shyamji is also waiting there.
Yes, Shyamji is there. We have to hear Shyamji.
Yeah, yeah. Radhe Radhe, Nitinji and
Radhe
Radhe. When I first started reading it 11 years ago, I did not understand a word. And then I was with my American friends for 10 years learning Buddhism and read all of that. And then suddenly one day just a tube light went on. And after that, I understood Buddhism. And that next step was, then I understood Bhagavad-Gita reading, and it just downloaded. I like your word, download.
Download, yeah. Very true.
I get the downloads in the morning. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Seema ji. Wonderful. And I see Neelam ji has put her video on as well. Okay. I hope it's intentional and not accidental. But I would encourage you all to put your videos from time to time. Maybe we can take some group snaps once in a while. It's good to put faces to names. Yes, Samji.
Yes, Shamji. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Ashutosh ji.
Yeah, please go ahead, and thank you for helping and admitting people today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, yes.
Thank you for this great session we are doing for last year or so. And I always say that it's a privilege and honor to be part of this group. As I was also starting reading Bhagavad-Gita about 4 years ago, I bought this book. I read about 2-3 chapters, but just for the sake of it. And I couldn't understand a single word. Ki kya usme hai. Though it had the meaning also, but it was all going beyond my reach. Then as and when we are doing sessions, it really makes sense to me ki, yes, Gita is the only thing one should read. If one can read this in entire lifetime, that's enough. Know the book. The books is required for that. And as I said, that you can take it and read the entire life. And we have got lots of those. So it's really amazing that we do not know where we can reach if we try and read all those things. And again, thank you for this session. And it's really an honor to be of this group, part of this group. Radhe Radhe.
Privileged to have you, Shyamji. Very true. It's an honor for all of us to be able to read Bhagavad-Gita together. And you would realize it's a very special thing that is happening. Okay, it doesn't happen just like that.
I had life, and on both the events, it was only because of this I could sail through, and you know that. Otherwise,
I know that, yeah.
Person, it's really difficult to come out of a shell. But I really thank you and Krishna that he made it happen. Say what happens at the right time, right thing, right place. Nothing is incidental. Now I can realize that जो होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है, it happens with a reason for a cause. We all are just part of it as a Kathputli. Nothing is in our control. We just go through it. If we go through it,
exactly Gita sir, जो हो रहा है सब अच्छा हो रहा है. yeah, I believe when you increase your love, your bhakti, those downloads really start.
Yeah, and what you're talking, Shyam Bhai, is realizations. Which kripa, grace of God is acting when you start getting those realizations. So it's a big thing. Just keep holding on to it.
I have no doubt, Kiran bhai, I have the grace of God, that's for sure. And he is the one who has been holding me and guiding me throughout. That's for sure. And I thank him for that always, always and always. Yeah, that's for sure. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Great. Thank you, Ashutosh ji. I see you turned on your camera as well. Wonderful. I think we had a pretty good interaction today. In fact, if I were to count, we had most number of participants speak today, and probably the most number of participants turn on their cameras as well. Hopefully, rest of you can do that as well, at least occasionally. So with that, I think we have covered everybody. Are we good, Pallavi, to wrap up today's
Yes,
session?
I don't see any hand raised. Baluji has also turned on his camera.
Baluji, it's a pleasure to see you. I speak to your son, Raviji, from time to time. And it's an honor to have you on these sessions. I know you are a very regular, and so good to see you. And Asha ji, thank you so much. Sanjay ji, it's so good to see faces to names, because for me, they're just names I stare at. But yeah, if you can start, when you recite or do turn on your camera, that will be wonderful. So
yes,
thank you very much.
Sanjay ji has also turned on the camera. Prakash ji.
Great,
yes.
great. We'll do some group picture. Maybe one of the days we'll plan for it. That way we can all dress up as you want and be in a nice attire, and that way we can get some good pictures of all the participants as well. And then it helps me build a personal connect as well. It's not just names. So that is always good.
Shyamji has something to say.
Yes, Shyamji.
One last suggestion and request. If whenever we speak, we can on the camera so that Nitin bhai feels good. He can just see who is who, and so that he'll feel good, that he doesn't speak to blank faces always. Just a suggestion or request from my side, all of us. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Shyamji, for requesting on my behalf. Yeah, it'll be nice if you do that. And Shyamji's always smiling face, I always get to see every day. So
I have a one-tone connect with Nitin bhai, that's for sure. Last 1 year, I do not feel that he is in US, I'm in Delhi. I feel that he is just next to me. Trust you me, and I'm not saying anything extra. Trust you me. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Shyam bhai. I'm sure we'll meet in person sometime soon. Okay, let's do our closing prayers. I know it's weekend, so we could afford some extra time, but it was well worth it. I'm saying I got to see a lot of new faces, and we had a wonderful interaction today as well. So let's do our closing prayers, and I look forward to seeing you next week, continuing with our discussion on Bhagavad-Gita.
Yes.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend and a great rest of your day as well. Radhe Radhe. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Nitinji, for such a wonderful session. Thank you, everyone, for joining and participating so enthusiastically. Have a great, great day. Have a wonderful weekend, and see you next week. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you again for your wonderful participation and giving me an opportunity to see some of your faces as well. Thank you again. Radhe Radhe.